In Nigerian politics, who you visit says as much as what you say. And on Friday, a man walked into Goodluck Jonathan's residence in Abuja, a man who is not yet a household name to most Nigerians. And what came out of that meeting may quietly be one of the most significant political signals of the entire 2027 season. Stay with me, because this story is about more than a courtesy visit. It is about who is really positioning for the future of this country, and whether the opposition has finally found a different kind of candidate. Welcome back. If you are a regular here, you know we do not just report the news. We break it down so that every Nigerian, regardless of background, can understand exactly what is happening and why it matters to them. Today, we are talking about a meeting that took place quietly in Abuja on Friday the 9th of May, 2026. Mohammed Hayatu-Deen, an economist, a banker, and now an ADC presidential aspirant, sat down with former President Goodluck Jonathan for a closed-door conversation about Nigeria's future and the 2027 elections. Now, on the surface, a politician visiting a former president sounds routine. In Nigeria, it happens all the time. But when you look at who Hayatu-Deen is, what he has done, why he chose this specific moment, and why he chose Jonathan specifically, the picture that emerges is far more interesting than a handshake and a photo opportunity. Let us unpack it from the beginning. So when this man looks at Nigeria today and says, "I want to serve at the highest level," it is not the statement of someone who has never been in the room. It is the statement of someone who has been in the room and who believes he has more to offer. That context matters, because Nigeria has a long and painful history of electing charisma over competence, personality over policy, and slogans over substance. Hayatu-Deen represents a different profile entirely, and whether Nigerians are ready for that kind of candidacy is one of the most fascinating questions of the 2027 cycle. Now let us talk about the visit itself, and why it matters who Hayatu-Deen chose to visit. Goodluck Jonathan is not just a former Nigerian president. Since leaving office in 2015, he has built a reputation across the African continent as a statesman, a peace mediator, and a credible voice on democratic governance. He has been involved in election monitoring and conflict resolution across West Africa and beyond. He is someone that serious political actors on this continent still listen to. So when Hayatu-Deen walked into Jonathan's residence and sat down with him, he was doing several things at once. He was formally informing Jonathan, a man he has known and worked with since Jonathan's time as vice president, that he is declaring his presidential ambition on the platform of the ADC. He was paying respect to a relationship built in public service, not in backroom deals. And he was signaling to anyone watching that his campaign intends to be credible, substantive, and grounded in governance experience. He also confirmed, publicly after the meeting, that he has already obtained the ADC presidential nomination form from the party's national secretariat. This is not a man who is thinking about running. He has made the decision. He has picked up the form. The declaration is done. And Jonathan, for his part, received him warmly and wished him success on his political journey. That is not a small thing. When a former president, especially one with Jonathan's continental stature, publicly receives a presidential aspirant and offers warm wishes, it is a signal. It is not an endorsement, to be clear, but it is a signal of respect, of recognition, and of the seriousness with which this candidacy is being taken. Now, if you watched our video earlier this week on the Supreme Court ruling, and if you have not, I will link it above, you already know that the ADC has just come through one of the most turbulent periods in its short history. A bitter internal leadership dispute, a removal from INEC's portal, protests, court battles all the way to the Supreme Court. David Mark's leadership of the party was only restored on the 30th of April, 2026 by a unanimous Supreme Court ruling. As of this week, INEC has reinstated Mark and Rauf Aregbesola on its official portal. The party is, finally, stabilizing. And it is into this moment, this specific window of relative calm and restored legitimacy, that Hayatu-Deen is stepping forward with his presidential declaration. That timing is deliberate, it is strategic, and it tells you that the people around this candidacy understand the political landscape well enough to know that a credible candidate needs a credible party structure behind him. The ADC, with its leadership crisis now managed, is positioning itself not as a fringe party, but as a genuine opposition vehicle ahead of 2027. But here is the real question, and it is one that every Nigerian watching this deserves to sit with honestly. Does a candidate's resume actually matter in Nigerian presidential politics? Does experience in economic management, in public sector governance, in private sector job creation, does any of that translate to votes in a country of over 200 million people, spread across 36 states and the FCT, with all the ethnic, religious, and regional complexity that Nigerian elections demand? It is a fair question, and the honest answer is, it depends. It depends on whether the Nigerian voter in 2027 is angrier at economic mismanagement than they are loyal to old political identities. It depends on whether the middle class and the educated youth, exhausted by years of economic hardship, are ready to try something different. And it depends on whether Hayatu-Deen and the ADC can build the kind of grassroots machinery that turns a compelling resume into actual votes, in actual polling units across all 6 geopolitical zones. That work is just beginning, and Friday's meeting with Jonathan is one small but symbolic step in that direction.